This wild rice and pear salad is not gonna take a back seat at your Thanksgiving dinner. It's gonna be front and center because it's that good. All the great ingredients, bright and citrusy, full of flavor. Let's make it. This salad is really a culmination of some of my favorites with a beautiful bright rice salad, but also a lettuce salad. And I love at Thanksgiving to have something that's a little bit heartier, more unique. So it's gonna start with beautiful wild rice. Now wild rice cooks longer, a lot longer, because it's a little bit more texture and toothsome than regular rice, but it's totally worth it. And actually it's more healthy too. So it's all around good. So I have some water in here. I'm gonna add a little bit of butter. It just helps flavor the rice, and I think that's important. And we're gonna pour in our rice that has been rinsed and drained. And we're going to let this now come to a boil. We're gonna put the lid on and let it just slowly cook. And while it cooks, it will slowly soak in all that moisture, and eventually we'll let it just sit and cool and put the rest of this together. So while the rice is cooking, we're gonna quick put together a candied nut. It's a pecan to go on top. I think these little special touches of like making a sugared pecan to go on top, it makes a huge difference in your salad, especially for something like Thanksgiving. Why wouldn't you do that? So right here we have a skillet that just has been warming. I'm gonna add a little bit of butter. And what this is gonna do is we're gonna just make sure that butter is kind of starting to coat before it completely melts, but we can add everything together. So it's gonna toast the pecans. It's going to slowly caramelize the brown sugar that now I'm putting on top. But also, since we're gonna have a prominent flavor in this whole salad of orange, we're gonna squeeze a little bit of orange on top. And this is going to just help it have a little bit of pop of brightness, pull it all together. So we're gonna let this all melt together, slowly cook until it just coats the nuts. So in just a few minutes of cooking, you can see that the pecans are coated in that wonderful sugary mixture. We're gonna put them right on to just a parchment lined baking sheet. And then it's gonna just let them cool completely. So during that cooling, the sugar is gonna harden up just like a praline kind of would. And it's gonna just kind of continue to coat and be the perfect then topping later on for us to chop up and put on top of the salad. Now, while they're sitting there and they're warm, I do like to salt them slightly. I think that just kind of brings out, then when you put them on top of the salad, that perfect mixture of sweet and salt and just everything in between. So those are gonna cool off. My rice is cooked, but it's cooling off. And so once it's cooked, it takes a long time, but then you want it to cool off before you just add it to a salad, because it's a cool salad, a normal cooled salad. So now what we're gonna worry about is the dressing. The dressing is pretty simple, and I always think it's worth it to home make your dressing. It makes a huge difference, and it really is just better. So we're gonna start with some Dijon mustard. Now, Dijon mustard, it has a little bit of tanginess to it. You know, personally, I like a nice strong hit of Dijon mustard. And I think that's important because that funkiness is almost balanced out with everything. So we're gonna put in a little bit of honey. The sweetness is kind of needed, I think, especially since we're gonna use orange juice and orange zest, and those are all gonna work together. Then we're gonna start with orange juice. Now, orange juice to me has the brightness, it has kind of like that acidity, and it just to me is like that beautiful flavor to add. But I do wanna also add some orange zest. So for that, we're just gonna use a fine grater, and we're just gonna take it, and we're gonna grate the top of an orange. We're gonna actually use some more juice, so that's why I'm using a second one yet. And you can see we're just getting those nice bright orange parts off the top. So the orange zest has more pungent flavor than just the juice. And so that's why we do a mixture of the two. It's definitely hitting you differently. So once you get it all on here, I do it upside down nose, and then I just turn it over and go right into the dressing and knock it in there. So all those oils and all that flavor gets right into where you want it. And then we want a little bit more juice. So I knew I needed 2 oranges, so that's why I did not feel bad getting the zest off of a second one. But look at that beautiful juice going in. We're gonna add a little bit of champagne vinegar. Now, we're doing some acidity with the orange, but I wanna offset it with a little bit more from a vinegar slight flavor, but the champagne is a nice lighter vinegar. It's not really that strong. A little bit, of course, of salt. It's really important to season your dressings well for a salad. It's just one of the things that will really set it apart. Some black pepper, some freshly cracked black pepper, or whatever you use. And then we're gonna talk about what I think is really essential when you're home making a dressing. And I have a little bit of shallot, and now we're gonna just chop up some garlic. Now, fresh shallot and garlic to me make or break a dressing. And for this, we're doing one of those great fresh salads. and you want the flavor to be there. So instead of having like a gloppy dressing that can sometimes come from a grocery store, we're mincing all these ingredients up, which is super important, to finely mince them and then add them in. So you're gonna get that beautiful, fresh garlic flavor, which is super important. It's actually tempered out by all the acidity that's in here, which is important too to realize. And then this shallot. Now the other day when I was at the grocery store, my shallots I kind of used up already from last year and I needed to plant more, but I was buying some shallot and the checkout person was like, what do you do with shallot? And I was trying to sell him on it. I was like, okay, if you ever make homemade dressings or other things, it's a nice lighter flavor and it's perfect for those. So now what I wanna do is take my whisk and just slowly whisk this together. And you just wanna whisk this together to make sure that Dijon, the honey, is all getting together before we put in the dressing. Now you could of course also shake this up in a jar or a dressing container if that's what you like. I like to hand whisk it. Or I also like to make this directly in a wooden salad bowl if you like to serve in that. It just depends how you wanna serve it. But then while you're whisking, this slightly emulsifies to be able to whisk and pour the olive oil in. So we're gonna slowly just be drizzling in this olive oil and it will slowly start to just absorb and have those droplets be smaller and it will emulsify that oil. So once all that oil is added, you can always add a little bit more or less to taste, but there it is. So it's all formed. You can see it gets a little bit more viscous, a little bit more of a texture to it. And now what I like to do test is take a little piece of lettuce. You should always test your dressings. Dip it in there. That's good. This is where I would add more salt though if I need to. That is super important to balance at this level because once it's on the salad, sprinkling salt on, not a good way to go. Season your dressing well, have it balanced really well, then everything's gonna come together. So I'm gonna clean up, let the rice finish cooling off. We're gonna make a salad. We have all the components here. You know, salads that I put sometimes on the website seem like a lot of different components. They are. They're special occasion salads, and they're also just what I love to eat for a meal sometimes. But I think when you go through the steps, you realize, okay, it's just a few steps and it overlaps. It's not that big a deal. So I have some lettuce in there. I'm just chopping a mixture of romaine, some nice curly lettuce. I just like things with texture and good crunch. I mean, do you hear that? That's what I want. I want that great, fresh crunch. I think, you know, when it comes to Thanksgiving, we have lots of beige, lots of brown, lots of carb-heavy things, which yes, this does have rice, but it's wild rice. And I think when you come to a salad, you just often think of it behind everything and like, oh, the salad, at least we have one. My salads are about being front and center and about coming together to be delicious. So the rice, and again, mine is a tricolor, kind of multicolored heirloom and wild rice. I love the wild rice, but I like to mix some of it in with the lettuce first before I dress it. And then we're gonna just throw it onto a platter, which I think is really nice. Now notice I saved just a little bit because once you toss it, sometimes you want to be able to put a little bit more on top. So that's why I'm doing that. But now that the rice is in there, we're going to take our dressing. It's that really bright orange dressing. And we're going to throw it around. We're going to pour it around is actually what we're going to do. And it has all those wonderful flavors. Another thing I always do is always hold back some of the dressing. Holding back different items like that means that you can kind of dress or do it to taste because each head of lettuce, everything always varies in sizes. And so I think it's important to remember that. So what I'm doing, you're gonna notice, is tossing it. I think I like to make sure everything is coated and tossed well. And I'm even gonna put some of the pears in there. So I have pears here and I've been slicing them up. I did just a mixture of red, green. There's really no reason for it. I'm just doing, you know, a nice slice on them. You could do a dice, but it's seasonal and we don't always get these fresh items. And so I want to make sure you see what we're having, but I'm gonna put a few of them in here just so they get mixed in. Now the acidity from the dressing, so it's gonna help keep these pears from browning on us because pears do oxidize and wanna go brown. So this is a good way to get that to counteract. So now what I'm gonna do is I sometimes like to serve on a big platter. I think it really presents well what the salad is and what you're gonna be eating. And I think that's important. So you see all those different components. You see the freshness. You see that there's rice. You see the green, the pears. And once you throw everything on, this is to me where the magic happens. Now I reserved some of that rice just to make sure that I could, yeah, this is me, I'll admit. I like to do everything and make sure everyone's gonna have a good presentation because it is Thanksgiving. Now, I think parsley is really essential with the salad. It's kind of a classic with a lot of rice salads that this is kind of taking notes from with the orange. So I think when you add that on top, it's just delicious. We have some more pears that we're just gonna kind of stick in around. I think they add some great color. I think they add a little bit more texture, but again, you wanna make sure they're ripe. So you buy them a few days before, so you can have them in there, and then you can kind of just put them in around. There's some mixed in, but I want some on top too, because that to me is the point. Now, we also have these praline nuts that we've been having, and they've been cooling. So if you look here, do you hear it? They're just nice and crispy now. So what I'm gonna do is just put them right onto my cutting board. Don't snack on them all, you're gonna want to, but we're just gonna go through and we're gonna quickly, roughly chop them. So with the sugary coating they have, as they cool, they get that like kind of crunchy, crispy exterior. And that to me is what comes great with a nut. Now I know some of you are gonna say, well, I can just buy this. You could. I've realized that I am someone that, since I don't live always close to a market, close to a grocery store, I keep ingredients on hand. So I keep nuts in my freezer at all times, pecans, walnuts, whatever it is, and I can candy one within a few minutes if I want to. I can't just run to a grocery store in a few minutes. So if I keep all these ingredients on hand, I just find it's a lot easier for me to do it like this. So now we're gonna put these on top, put these all around. I mean, it looks seasonal already. It's looking extra special, and I think that's the best part. And then we have a few final ingredients of dried cranberries. Again, it's that sweet little pops of flavor, and then feta. So feta cheese gives you that briny tanginess. It finishes everything off. So now you see the salad, you see a mess behind me, so I'm gonna clean up a little bit. We're gonna try it, and we're gonna see what it's like. Here it is in all of its glory with a cleaned up workspace, which is important. So this is what I love about a platter. It just like presents it really well. And then you can just take some wonderful salad. I know, it's beautiful. And what I love about this one is it's hearty. So not that I think vegetarians should only have salad, but I do always love to have an option of a salad that has more to it than just lettuce, tomatoes, maybe some carrot. This has a wonderful like heartiness to it, and it's a great one to use. So what I'm gonna do is enjoy it, because this is how I would eat on like a nightly basis. If you've ever had a wild rice salad, this has notes of that, which is the hearty rice that has a great texture to it, offset with that parsley. The parsley is important here. I think that's a key to make sure you know. The sweetness of those nuts with the pops of cranberry, that dressing is bright with the orange and the zest. It all comes together. It's delicious. This is a great salad. It's great for Thanksgiving. It's great for any occasion. And what it is almost a meal in one if you want it to be. That's what a salad should be. It should be the star of the show, not taking a back seat. And that's what you're gonna have with this. So what do I hope you do? I hope you share this around so everyone can see that, guess what? Salad doesn't have to be who cares. It can be, oh, everyone wants it, and that's what we're gonna have here. Check my website, wiseguy.com, for this recipe, all my other recipes. Because the important part about food is sharing food through recipes, through actual food, bringing people together, just like Thanksgiving, to hold us together and have something delicious. So until next time, hold those people together and share something great. That's what it's all about.